Hello once again. This is Earl Bryant coming at you from the New York City suburbs of Long Island, and it is time once more for Pearls from Earl, where it is my mission to educate, edify, and encourage excellence in every area of your life. Today's Pearl is sort of a take on a famous quote from Shakespeare's Hamlet: "To be or not to be, that is the question." Well, I have a question for you. To fail or not to fail, is it ever okay? Well, that depends on who you ask. People look at this differently. Zig Ziglar famously said, "Failure is an event, never a person." But again, the answer depends on who you ask. Some people say that it's okay, other people say it's not. Let me share something with you before I go further. Most of us, from birth to age 5, are in learning mode. As we're born, we don't really know anything, and our eyes are basically open to all possibilities. Our minds are like sponges, and we take in everything that we see because we're not just observing, we're learning. We're learning what to do, and even in some ways, learning what not to do. And one of the most obvious ways in which this is demonstrated is walking. Generally speaking, children get to the toddler age, say between age of 1 and 3, and at different parts of their development, having seen a number of people standing up and balancing themselves and walking and even running, they get inspired and they decide to try it themselves. So they get up on unsteady legs and they give it a try, and they might wobble, they might lose their balance, and they might fall down. Now, what happens in most cases when you see a toddler trying to walk and they're struggling to walk? Well, recognizing the fact that a toddler has never walked before, most of us will stand there and cheer them on and applaud and encourage them. And if they fall down, we might give them a pat on the back, we might pick them up, hug them, give them a kiss, and encourage them and say, "Well, it's okay, you're doing fine, try it again, it's all right. Go ahead, try it again." And we put them down and let them try at their own pace. And they might take a step, wobble, fall. They try it again, they might take 2 steps, wobble and fall. Then 4, then maybe 8, maybe 16. But all along the way, they wobble, they fall, but with each attempt they're getting better and better. And as they're getting better and better, we encourage them more and more until one day they get to the point where they get to their feet, they get their balance, and they start walking, and they remain steady, and they keep their balance, and they don't fall down until they just sit down, whenever that is. And then eventually they start to run, and they go on from there. Reminds me of a joke that I heard about new parents who have their first child, and the child's an infant and then a baby and then maybe a toddler, and they can't wait till the day that the child walks and talks until they become teenagers, and all of a sudden all they want to do is have them sit down and shut up. But going back to the example, this is what happens with a toddler. They go through the process, they go through they fail, they have their moment, but as they fall and as they fail and as they struggle, they gradually get better, and we encourage them along the way, and that inspires them to try again as they gradually improve. The rules do change for many children, however, when they get to about age 5 and they enter school. The response to that failure becomes drastically different. Instead of being corrected and being encouraged and being inspired through their failure to try again, very often because of the competitive nature of school, a lot of kids get scolded when they fail, they get punished when they fail, and they don't see failure as part of the process. They see failure as something that needs to be avoided if they want to be successful. And a lot of kids find that punishment, which is oftentimes harsh and severe, very frightening, very intimidating, and very unfamiliar, because it's not what they grew up with, it's unfamiliar to them, and all they know is that it's something that scares them, and they decide that they're not going to try again because the lesson comes down that in order to be successful, instead of achieving failure and going through that failure, that you got to avoid it. And a lot of them fulfill what Shakespeare said, which was, our doubts are traitors, and they make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. And during that period, when we start getting scolded for our failures, we start doubting ourselves, we start losing confidence, we start losing the sense of inquisitiveness and imagination and curiosity, and that starts to get lost because we're told basically that we have to really walk a fine line, and we can't afford to fall down because failure seems to be final and seems to be fatal, and it seems to be something that we get labeled with for the rest of our lives. So gradually, not all at once, but gradually people start to lose the sense of wonder that they had when they were younger, and they start becoming more and more reluctant to try things new because they want to be secure. And they think that security is the same thing as success, and they don't realize that they lost the lesson that they learned as children. Now again, the question is it ever okay to fail? Well, the answer again depends. Because there are some people who, despite their failures, are still encouraged, they're still corrected, they're not scolded, they're corrected, they're guided, they're trained, they're encouraged. And they are reminded again and again that it's a process that you go through, and you're going to continue to go through, and you're going to continue to learn, and you're going to continue to improve and continue to get better. Most successful people today understand that failure is part of the process that takes you to success. John C. Maxwell wrote a book called Fail Forward, or Failing Forward, because you move on to your success as you fail, as you improve. Malcolm Forbes said something to this effect, that if you fail and you learn, you really haven't failed, you have succeeded. People who are truly successful understand this. Richard Branson recently said, show me someone who claims to be successful and says they never failed, and I will show you a liar. It is through failure that I learn to succeed. People who are successful understand that failure is part of the process. As I record this now, we're at the beginning of football season in this country, American football. And every single game I've ever watched of football, whether it's college football, high school football, pro football, I've noticed one thing that both teams have in common. If you step on that field and you're between the lines, at some point you're going to get hit and you're going to get knocked down. Every player, no exceptions. There is also a period during the game called halftime, when the coaching staff and the players go into the locker room and they discuss what happened during the first half of the game. They talk about what went well, they talk about what needs to improve, and they make adjustments to their game plan about how they're going to play the second half and how the second half is going to be better than the first half. And they go out with that new game plan and they seek to win, but they know that everybody in that game who steps on the field is going to get hit. The difference between the team that wins and the team that loses is that despite the hits, the team that wins does a better job of getting up. They do a better job of overcoming. In the movie Rocky Balboa, the title character spoke to his son and said that the way you win is to do two simple things. Take the hits and keep moving forward. It is not about avoiding failure. It's about how you respond to failure once it happens. Someone said that life is 10% what happens and 90% how you respond to it. Everybody takes a hit at some point. Everybody gets knocked down at some point. Everybody fails. It is not something to be avoided, it's something to be acknowledged. I would even say, in some ways, to be embraced. And then you have to ask yourself during that moment, what happened? What can I learn from this? How can I improve going forward? That happens to all of us, but not all of us respond to it the same way. So again, the question is, to fail or not to fail, is it ever okay? The answer is, it all depends. But in the end, the winning and the losing, the success and the failure ultimately all depends on me just as much as it depends on you. How are you going to handle it? That is today's Pearl from Earl. It is my hope that you got some value out of it, and if you did, do me the honor of giving me a like or a thumbs up. And don't be stingy. Share the wealth with people you know who can benefit from the information that you have just received. This is one of many lessons that I have learned from a group of people that I have come to know, like, and trust very recently. They've taught me lessons like this, that failure is okay if you learn from it and you grow from it. And as Joel Osteen likes to say, don't just go through it, grow through it. They have shown me how to grow through it and to become better every day. I get better every day and I improve, and I look forward to every success as I learn how to handle failure. If you believe that a community like this of loving, caring, committed individuals who are dedicated to your success and even getting you through failure, through every checkpoint of failure to your next success, you believe that these people can help you, I invite you to click the link that I have included below this video, and you'll be introduced to this community, and you'll be invited to take a trial membership 10 days for $10, so you can see the lessons that these people can teach you that can help you to move on from success to success, or some would like to say from glory to glory. If what you learn is not your cup of tea, if it's not to your liking, before the 10 days are up, you can ask for a refund and you get your $10 back, no questions asked. It has been my privilege to share this with you, this Pearl from Earl. And until the next time, when we gather around for another Pearl from Earl, when I hope to see you right back out there, this is Earl Bryant signing off from the New York City suburbs of Long Island. Take care and be well. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye for now.